Okay, that came off pretty easy. Here's the rust. Fortunately, there's not a hole, so I could just sand this, prime it. I scratched that a little bit, taking off the side things, so I'll have to, I might go get a touch-up silver for that. There's this glue, foam glue piece up top. And what they said on a video is this piece of foam that goes inside, probably for noise deadening, people blame that for causing that rust down at the bottom, saying that that traps moisture. Maybe that's true. And then here, I've got some blister rust. That might be paint. I got blister rust and some rust there to clean up. So, like I said, it's colder than the temperature recommended for doing this. So I may not get to the metallic paint today, but I'm definitely gonna try to clean this off here with a grinder and a sander, and then put a little primer on it, get at least that far. And then if it gets up to 60 degrees today, which I don't think it will, maybe I'll put a coat of paint on. I don't know, we'll see. All right, so I've got rust all up along there, and I've got rust on the inside here. I've got rust right there, which I can't quite get to with the grinder, so I'm gonna try a little wire brush. Another little piece of foam tucked right there, and there's rust right where that foam was. All right, so I'm just gonna prime and paint the inside of the fender for where the rust was spreading. This isn't, a great job. It's hopefully, though, by just sanding off the rust and then using a rust reforming primer, it'll put a stop to that, and then I can focus on the other part. So just gonna all right, that's good. I think I'm gonna go out and sand a little bit on that outside part while this dries. All right, so I put the rust reforming primer on. Now I'm just applying a little of the self-etching gray primer. And I'll let that dry. Now I'm going to go outside and spray a little of this primer on the other part. You can see this was the part that was rusty on the car. I just basically ground it off And now I'm just going to spray the primer on it to coat it for now, and then I'll have to go back and sand and blend and feather. This primer is definitely coming out chunkier because it's not as warm. So I guess I'll put a couple of coats on, so I'll just leave that for now. All right, that is all I'm gonna do for today. I learned a bunch. Learned how to take the fender off. I ground the rust off this part, put rust reforming primer on it, and then some gray primer. Looks like crap, of course, but hopefully later it'll look better. I'm gonna put the fender back on. I might apply a little bit of primer over on this part, but I don't know, we'll see. Okay, well, all back together. I'm thinking when I do this, I'm not going to take this off again. I'm just going to sand here and blend it, and then paint the silver over it and try to blend it, rather than take this whole thing off again. I don't really care about the part that's underneath. I'll work on the part that's in the doorway a little bit maybe, but yeah, my goal, yeah, you can see the freaking primer is already stripping off because it, you know, wasn't put on well. But I'll sand that a little bit. Try to get that done better. It's a lot warmer today, which is nice, but I am feeling very unmotivated to work on this, which is when you really have to knuckle down and just do the work. So I'm going to try to sand this stuff lightly to get a moderately good transition, and then I'm going to paint it. I might prime it again, don't know. So all right, this is probably not going to work, but I've taped the tape off of the car a little bit to try to allow the paint to feather itself on. All right, let's see if this works. Don't hate that. All I think I'll leave that for a few minutes. And then apply some clear. Wherever the paint I think has gotten on top of the old clear, when I use a clear polish, that'll rub away. And I'm hoping it will blend in. Okay, well, I have popped the hardener on this, so that means it's only good for 48 hours. So I'm really only going to use it a little bit, but we'll see how it goes. That wind is the opposite of helpful. All right, gonna let that sit 15 minutes. Put a little more on. Oh God, I already have a drip. I already got a drip. It's dripping right into the new paint. Oh well, nothing I can do about it. All right, that's the finished product. You can still see it's lighter in color than the rest of the paint. I don't know if that's the primer showing through, but I think it's just that the silver paint is brighter. But I can totally live with that. It looks a lot better. Thanks, kid. That over there I'll do another day. I wanted to see how this turned out first. And then I've got another one on this side. Right there. So I definitely think it looks better. You know, much better even if it's not a really great paint job. But this is actually probably the best I've ever done at home. So I can definitely live with that. Rank amateur here.